2017's Wonder Woman was all kinds of epic, paradigm-shifting, clutter-breaking, solid film. Lightning has not struck twice, unfortunately. Back for another Ghar Se movie review. Today, Patty Jenkins' Wonder Woman 1984. Quite a lot of spoilers ahead, I'm warning you now. The reason why expectations from this movie were very high is because Patty Jenkins and Gal Gadot together delivered a film in 2017 which subverted so much we'd come to associate with superhero films. Not only was the film scripted around a woman, it also had a strong feminine gaze in that their bodies were not sexualized, their personalities were not fetishized, and the Amazons didn't wait for a Batman or Iron Man to come along and make a plan which they could all follow. Diana Prince's wide-eyed, childish wonder upon experiencing the world outside Themyscira was cleverly overset with her incredible ass-kicking and leadership skills without too much attention to how stunning she looked while doing aforementioned ass-kicking. It didn't feel like a token attempt at showing how with the times and inclusive the DCEU had become. It was genuine, rock-solid, satisfying filmmaking. Wonder Woman 1984 though, not so much. Patty Jenkins is working with a screenplay riddled with plot holes. If you're one for consistency in fictional universes, which you should be, rules are rules. Along with co-writer Geoff Johns and Dave Callaham, Jenkins creates an authentic mid-80s America where bright pop gym clothes and synth pop songs were an ironic contrast with the steady threat of a looming nuclear war with the USSR. In Washington DC at this time, we meet a literally ageless Wonder Woman living her life as Diana Prince, a scientist at the Smithsonian. The film addresses how unusually attractive this woman is out of place in a museum by conventional standards by showing us how she has to fend off unwanted male attention almost constantly and has reached a point where it borderline doesn't even register with her. The other female scientist you meet though is the stereotypical geek/nerd who has no friends but a brilliant mind. She has frizzy hair and is intimidated by popular people. While the incredible Kristen Wiig, whose performance is easily one of the best things about this film, sells the character she's playing, Barbara the scientist, the writing afforded to this part is disappointingly cliche and unimaginative. Keep watching, बताती हूँ. So there's a crystal named the Dreamstone, जिसको पकड़कर कुछ भी मांग लो, it comes true. But you will lose one thing closest to you, which as far as evil MacGuffins go is really quite fun. But the inconsistency with which the Dreamstone functions throughout this film is mega frustrating. Again, spoilers ahead. Diana simply says a wish in her mind, holding the stone. It comes true. But later we learn that the person wishing has to actually say it out loud. Barbara says a wish out loud in an empty room, talking to walls, which is an unbelievable amount of exposition because by that time nobody really knows what the stone is capable of doing. Another time we are told the stone only grants one wish per person, but not for Barbara, whose first wish to become powerful and popular like Diana, which comes true. And another time, without touching the stone, she wishes to become an apex predator, which also she does. How like that? Also, the stone just appears in the storage room of an antique store. We don't know how. And when the villain, an oil businessman / TV personality Max Lord, steals it, he miraculously knows all about its magic powers, जबकि Wonder Woman या बाकी किसी scientist को कुछ भी नहीं पता है. All we know about this guy so far is that he is running a Ponzi scheme and is in fact bankrupt. But how is it that he knows that the stone was in the antique store and what its powers are? Inconsistencies like this are what made the film little frustrating to watch because aside from the writing, everything and everyone is working very, very hard. Gal Gadot's performance as Wonder Woman is really quite enjoyable. You'd be cold-hearted to deny her charm. I mean, look at her. She's all kinds of lovely. Here, Diana has grown up a considerable amount since her last adventure and is living a sexy scientist life while busting mall robberies on the sly. But those aren't the only two sides to her that we get to see. You know, it's not all goes into phone booth and comes out a superhero. You can see her evolution from doe-eyed Amazon to worldly woman of science to the hero the world needs and reluctant but ruthless fighter. But she has a beating heart fought through it all, and eventually, when her powers are threatened, she's also shown to be weak, vulnerable, and stumble and fall. If only the screenplay held up around her. In one moment, she flies off to catch the bad guy, but when she lands, she's wearing an entirely different outfit, her Themyscira golden winged supersuit, which was earlier shown to be kept safely wrapped up in her apartment. So she went home to change mid-chase, or her suit operates like the Iron Man AI, which can presumably fly on its own. You're never told. There are two villains in this film. Barbara, who turns into Cheetah, and Max Lord, played by an incredibly hardworking Pedro Pascal, who almost destroys the whole world by figuring out a hair-brained way he was going to grant everyone's wishes, whatever they wished for, which is, I mean, you can tell it's not a good idea. Of these two, Cheetah's story is as predictable as can be, regardless of how fun Kristen Wiig is to watch. When she begins to gain power, the first thing she figures out is how to walk in high heels and make her drab clothes look sexy. But when her powers increase, it's a thrill to watch her face off against Diana, because दोनों की powers अब बराबर ऐसे टक्कर किए हैं, and for a while you're made to believe Diana will not come out on top in their encounters. लेकिन Max Lord's shenanigans never really inspire any kind of fear or dread, because barring perhaps a sequence where he takes over power from the United States president, everything else evil he does is convoluted, haphazard, and just doesn't make sense in a real or fictional universe. See, one of the reasons we like superhero movies is that the fantasy universe creation is extremely detailed and meticulous. Thousands of comic books, tens of films, plus ancillary content like web series and video games, they commit to rules and mandates. To violate the canon is to shatter that diligently built mirage and deny the escapist joy and comfort it was designed to provide. Wonder Woman 1984 starts off promising to enhance this universe with a visually stunning, although arguably too long, Olympic-like sequence set in Themyscira. But through the rest of its runtime, it fails to hold your attention or intrigue. And man, certain sequences are just plain boring. Sorry. And for what I'm about to say now, do not come at me, but Hans Zimmer is to be blamed for some of the fatigue this film makes you feel. So, there are two opening sequences, right? Patty Jenkins has said that despite pressure from the studio, she decided to keep them both. One we just spoke about, the Olympic triathlon style event where Dinah is a preteen, fun. Second, which comes right after, is set in a typical American mall of the 80s where Dinah is catching goofy, incompetent dumbasses trying to rob a store. Now, she does this with apparent ease, with a smirk on her face for the most part, like it's a fun little jaunt for her, aise side mein. But both the scenes are scored in a similar style. The rousing, exhilarating, end of the world tonality one has come to associate with superhero flicks, largely due to Hans Zimmer. In my opinion, the mall scene didn't require that treatment at all. It only weighed the screenplay down, something which continues to happen throughout the film, unfortunately. Again, sorry. I don't know इंडिया में ऑनलाइन कब और कहाँ देखने मिलेगी ये फिल्म. मैंने इधर यूएस में HBO Max खरीद कर देखी, जो महंगा भी था, और अब पता चला है कि Tenet भी HBO Max पे नहीं रिलीज हो रही है. So if you know anything I can watch on HBO Max, please tell me in the comments. Now for a segment जिसके बारे में मैं भूल जाती हूँ हर बार, relation में recommendation. This time instead of a movie, I'm going to recommend a show which has deep ties to superhero movies, but is in fact Arrested Development. You might know that the Russo brothers, who are now making all kinds of Avengers films, also made Arrested Development. You'll spot all kinds of Easter eggs across the MCU. But here's a fun fact. One of the most watched Arrested Development episodes, Season 2, Episode 2, the one where they build a house, was directed by Patty Jenkins. It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen. And if you're looking for timeless but relevant comedy to spend pandemic hours, look for Arrested Development. काफी लंबा वीडियो है ये, तो no more ज्ञान, just a request to subscribe and like and share. Okay, and you can tell me in the comments how funny my t-shirt is. Bye.